Welcome everybody. Welcome. It's your host Ken Dogs here to do the review, baby. It's The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 3. It's called Warning Signs. And, man, what an episode we had last, Episode 2. I think it was Episode 2 because we were in Episode 3. Sorry for that. I just had a brain fart right now. Basically, we're here and we're going to go through this. So we start off with a warning sign. It just says final warning. You see the last savior, which were thought to be dead, wakes up. Now he's a zombie, and there's a painted sign on the wall, and it says final warning. We do not know what this final warning means, but it starts off pretty somber with the fact that you see the final warning, you see that dead savior, and then it goes off into kind of like Carl's vision, his dream. You see veggies, you see all kinds of growth. You see the community of Alexandria pretty much getting back to normalcy, right? And I love this community. Just the solar power alone, I gotta say, I've said this every episode, but the solar power alone just makes me super happy because it's a renewable community and Rick is in control of that community. But at the bottom of that community, with all this renewal growth and change and tomatoes, from Carl's vision, what we see is that Negan is still in the basement. He's still there. He's just waiting to be let go, to wreak havoc. I'll say Rick Havoc, and that was said on purpose, people, to wreak havoc as he would. But the only difference now is that apart from this vision, we see something that is kind of different, right? We know that there's division in the Rick ranks. People, the old group of Rick, Daryl, Maggie, Glenn, everyone, the remaining survivors of Rick, Daryl, and Maggie is now Rick versus the others. The others are coming into their own. They do not like the last decision that their fearless leader has come to go through by saving Negan's life. And for good reason, right? For good reason. Negan was a badass. He didn't give a shit about nobody except for Carl. Fucked up everybody. Got everybody killed. But, Daryl and Maggie do not want to look for it. Although they've also accepted that Rick's vision is the way to go forward, they're looking at it like the only way to go forward into Rick's vision is to kill all the bad guys from the past and then just keep the normal people with the same vision of what the future should be going forward. The problem with that is there's always someone that feels hurt, always someone that feels like, and we see that in the real world. There's always someone that feels slighted, right? Like, you killed all of us. Like, my family, my ancestors, or whatever. There's always someone that's going to look back into the past and say that you didn't do the right thing, and now we're going to come after you because we feel slighted. And that's what we kind of get in this episode with Rick on one side with Michonne, who's kind of like supporting him. She understands. I don't know if she agrees with Rick, but she understands what Rick is trying to do. And most people in this season kind of just agree with Rick to the point where they know where he's supposed to go, but they're not happy with what they have to go through to get there, the labor, the trials, the tribulations, right? And Daryl and Maggie are so young in the leadership role that they basically try to gain information and acceptance through their decisions. And what I mean by that is, in this episode, there's several instances where Maggie gets confirmation that her decision might have caused a bad repercussion or a good repercussion, and she uses that to make another decision. Instead of having a moral backbone to stand on, she's more of an emotional leader, which is never a good thing. But we're going to go into a lighter subject, which is Rick. Yeah, Rick got some game, man. I got to give it to him. He's talking about the future, and He's about to give Michonne, the Rick loving. And that's another hint, people. Rick loving. But anyway, if you know there's a movie that's close and the name is close, you kind of figure out what I'm talking about. But anyway, it's not Rick Lovin', it's called McLovin, but I just put Rick Lovin' in there. Sorry. All right. Let's just skip that. Let's just go forward. But Rick tries to get it in with Michonne, and he's basically hitting her with the future story, like, yeah, this is about the future, we're about to do this, we need to build. And I'm like, damn. You still got a kick game, the zombie apocalypse? And then that gets me thinking, like, what happened to Carl? Did Carl get some, loving before he died? Like, you mean Carl died a virgin? Like, before he died, he wrote all these letters. He could have wrote a letter or talked to his girl and be like, yo, I'm about to die. So, for my future or my legacy to go on, I need some loving. And maybe I could deposit something, and then you could take it over and, help it grow with some interest, and that'll be that kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you don't want the zombie dick, but I can't give you that right now, so I'll just give you the regular human, like something. Anyway, let's just skip over that. I'm just pissed off that Carl might have died a virgin, and he ain't getting none, and nobody tried to hook him up. Even his boy Daryl even tried to be like, yo, just get it in before you turn a zombie, because no girl's gonna want a zombie dick, and just move forward. That was kind of fucked up. Just saying, that was messed up. But anyway, back to the review. So we learned a couple of things while watching this episode 3, and I've been messing up with a lot of the stuff we're talking about. But we learned that The Wizard of Oz is still one of the best stories out there to teach to a kid, especially following the yellow brick road, which Rick is trying to follow, but everyone else is definitely not trying to follow the yellow brick road. They're like, no, we're not going to follow the wizard because he's definitely, he's fake, whatever. But one of the things that we find out is that there is someone out there mysteriously killing off saviors. Now, obviously, once you hear that, you're like, okay, it's not rocket science. It has to be one of the groups from Hilltops, right? Or freaking, it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes, Rick Holmes. It doesn't take Rick Holmes to figure this shit out, but it does take a Daryl. So Daryl figures it out, right? Daryl figures out who's doing the killing, and needless to say, Daryl's already conflicted, right? He kind of is loyal to Rick, but he wants to show Rick that his way is not the right way. And Rick gave him a good speech about, look, man, you saved my life after I killed your brother. And that should have been like a no-no. In actuality, Rick is damn freaking right about that. Fuck that. You killed my brother, I'm going to kill you. But his brother was a fuck up, and he's like, nah, Rick is a good man. Maybe that's the reason why he saw that Rick was a good man. But he can't get past what the Saviors has done to him. And his brother was no saint. His brother did a lot of effed up shit. But he can't get past what the Saviors have done. And maybe that's why he can't allow Rick's vision to come true. And basically, their problem with Rick is not his vision, but the fact that Negan is alive. So they're in the same understanding as most of Rick's people in his community, that if you kill off all your enemies, then all you have is your friends, which is never true. There's always a connection to someone else, someone that you don't know, right? And the Saviors are just like, man, can you just give us some guns, give us something to protect ourselves? And we're like, nah, y'all some psycho people. I'm not giving y'all no guns. Y'all gonna take us out, which is smart. It's not, it's not, maybe not the right thing to do, because maybe you could find someone you could trust in the Saviors to give at least one gun. But being through what Rick has been through, he's like, nah, I ain't trusting y'all. Y'all not ready to be trusted. And it's true. They're not ready to be trusted. But anyway, story goes on, right? So we find out that, that Daryl was right, and, he goes in and he figures out who's killing, the Saviors, right? So it's a big surprise. So, I mean, one of the things that I find strange about this is that Maggie's bold decision that basically to kill Gregory is now the defining. What do you call that? It's what changes everything for everyone, right? It's a defining moment for people starting to not believe in Rick. They basically want to do what they want, or basically want to take out the people who hurt them before, right? And that's what they're looking for. But anyway, let's just switch out to another important story, which is Gabriel finding out that his new lover, right, is out there trying to capture people for an anonymous group, right? And we know about this group because we saw that, the helicopter and the story about that with Jadis. And, he has Jadis basically talking to someone, and maybe the person in the helicopter, that, does she have anybody for them? And then she says it's an A or a B, right? And you're right, what the fuck is an A or a B? Like, now we're going to kindergarten? But my understanding of that is, and I'm not one that knows all about the comics, but usually it's like an alpha or a beta. And she's looking to trade that person's life for whatever debt that she has, right? And she admits that to Gabriel. And then she kind of gets a shocking to realize that Gabriel is not just a follower. Like, he actually does have some leadership. I mean, the man's a freaking pastor, right? And he killed his parishioners. But she's like, oh, you're not a B? I always thought you was a B. And I'm like, damn. That's like saying, man, I always thought you was a bitch. And then she just smacks him, right? So it was kind of funny because you could use that B for all kinds of different things, like bitch or whatever. And you could use an A, or like, is he an asshole or he's a bitch? And she's like, I always thought you was a B, but damn, you was always an A all this time. You was an asshole. Because she asked him to go with her, and she's like, nah. And then she just smacks him. Like, damn. Like, hits him across the head. And you're like, oh, shit. What's going on here? Carol gets herself, caught up on the spot with some of the saviors. And, Carol does her Carol thing, right? I'm not going to get into all to that. But she basically does one of those Jade Commando things. She pulls out a knife, bam, bam, bam. Story done. Maggie and Daryl, they, figure out, like I said, they figure out who's doing the killing. They find, I think the name is Cyndie and Patrice. They're getting ready to kill one of the saviors. The savior, I think her name is Arat. It's kind of a weird name. But, and they basically try to ask her, like, did you kill Justin? The way that Patrice is, saying that you killed, that's her husband or whatever. So they kind of has a couple of questions to kind of make it okay to kill Arat. And Arat basically says, yeah, I did it, man, but I did it under duress. Simon was a crazy motherfucker. He told me to do it, so I did it. And then what kind of gets her killed is when she says, what did you say to her? And she was like, I'm talking about Cyndie, and she was like, no exceptions. And then Maggie's like, oh, well, no exceptions, that's what it is. And then we live off, and then now we're going to kill Negan. Does that make a whole lot of sense? Kinda, sorta. Because they've just been looking for a reason to go after Negan. But that sets up a confrontation, right? With more than just Negan. That sets up a confrontation with their fearless leader. And will he be the fearless leader anymore? Or will he just be captured and labeled as an A, and then that's it? Like, now we have all these different things that could happen to Rick, because we know he's not going to be part of this whole season. And we know Maggie might not be part of this whole season. Big shocker, right? She signed up for another show. But if all these people are going to be captured, how is this show going to go on? What is going to happen going forward? Will Daryl get a more leadership? I can't see Daryl being a leader. All he does is shoot people with arrows. Like, that's a hell of a leading strategy, but you ain't got that many hours, bro. Maggie, too emotional as a leader. If she stays on, she definitely can't kill Negan. He's too big of a character, too charismatic for that show to not have Rick and Negan. So maybe Maggie gets murked. I wouldn't be too, hurt about that. Maggie kind of pisses me off anyway. You know, she's one of the only ones we saw get a little loving in the show, and she act like she never got no loving. So maybe she just misses the loving. Who knows? I'm just saying, it's just kind of weird. Still going back to that Carl stuff, people. Carl ain't get none before he died. I'm kind of upset about that. But anyway, this episode, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. The only reason I gave it a low score, it was a good episode. It had good pacing, but the whole Sherlock Holmes thing was pretty interesting. It didn't really live up to what I thought it would have lived up to. I thought that maybe there would have been a standoff or something, but that didn't really happen. But it definitely was missing a payoff. Just having Maggie and Daryl walk off to see Negan, I probably would have wanted something a little bit more defining than that. Maybe a confrontation with Rick, like, we're out here, we're going to go kill Negan, and you can't do nothing about it. You're going to have to kill us. Something like that. Maybe we'll still get that in the next episode. I wanted this in this episode. But seeing that this episode was light on content, more like a filler, I give it a 3.5. Definitely check it out. I think you guys will like this episode. It's not one of the best, but comparing to last season, this season is kept on a good, even standard that I think most people who watch The Walking Dead will definitely like. Check us out on hoodnewsmedia@gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter. Make sure you hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Share the link. Try to get some people to listen to this podcast, man. We starving out here. We trying to eat. Now, I'm just trying to put up more content out there for you guys. We have a couple of other shows coming up. We have Bodega Sports. We have Marriage Boot Camp. We have we're going to do the Daredevil this weekend too, so look forward to that. And thanks for listening, and peace.
Last report, things were good. Maggie will be there soon, thanks to you. She can hold down the fort for a while. Right?
It's just Maggie's trying. I know she is. But she's still angry. And so's Daryl. Maybe others.
Oh, you want me to go?
I want it to work.
Oh, it will. It will. Even if everyone isn't all in yet, they'll get there. Just like we did.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
For what?
For everything you've done. For everything you're doing. For you. Why don't you take a break?
You want me to stop working?
Yeah.
You want me to stop creating the foundations of a new civilization?
Well, I can think of another way to build for the future.
That's that game, people. I just wanted y'all to hear that. I know it was long, but that's that game.